The following is a CUNY TV special presentation.
I'm very pleased to welcome back to ABNY New York City Council Speaker Quinn. You can give her a round of applause. Chris has been a council member since 1999. She has brought a fresh perspective to city government, has established herself as a champion for all New Yorkers. Today, the challenges facing our city are significant. World financial uncertainty continues to cause economic slowdown and has put a significant pressure on our city budget. These issues, magnified by the strains on the state and federal budgets, are stretching our city's resources. New York is relying on strong and resourceful leadership to find innovative ways to create new jobs, grow the tax base, and ensure New York's economic recovery continues to outpace the rest of the country. New York is very fortunate to have Speaker Quinn. With her creativity, determination, drive, she has been leading our City Council during these complex times. Her commitment to our city and leadership has been shown on the City Council that makes New York a better place. It is now my pleasure to introduce City Council Speaker Quinn. Chris.
Across the country, the state, and the city, Americans on all sides of the political spectrum are angry and frustrated. We need look no further than Zuccotti Park to see this frustration in action. The anger of these protesters and the anger of so many Americans is based on legitimate fears about the future of our nation. Make no mistake, continued unemployment and the growing gap between the rich and the poor are the greatest threats to our prosperity. We've all heard the statistics. 14 million Americans and 350,000 New Yorkers are still out of work. That doesn't include the more than 1 million Americans who've given up on the job market altogether. These are more than challenging times. These are defining times. These are the times that will determine what type of a nation and what type of a city we will become. We often hear people use the phrase American exceptionalism. It's a concept that began at our nation's founding and a theme ingrained in the American narrative. Some have tried to co-opt this idea to mean American superiority or to use it to whitewash our failures, past and present. But at its core, American exceptionalism is about optimism for our country, a faith in our people, and a belief that through hard work, anyone can build a better future for their children. This is an optimism that I share, and it's an optimism that I have for our city. I believe in New York exceptionalism. How could I not? I'm the granddaughter of an immigrant who came from Ireland on the Titanic and fought her way out of steerage to make a better life for herself in a new land. I'm the daughter of an electrical engineer and a social worker who taught me that ordinary people have the power to improve the lives of their family, their communities, and the world around them. And I'm a woman who, with some hard work and a little chutzpah, is the Speaker of the New York City Council. And a woman who, thanks to the work of so many people in this room, is planning her wedding for next year. Now, New York exceptionalism isn't a new thing. Jay-Z sings about concrete jungles where dreams are made. 30 years after Sinatra said, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. which was 30 years after E.B. White wrote that New York is for our nation the visible symbol of aspiration and faith. The trick now is to harness the power of New York City to help all New Yorkers. Because the only way government can drive economic growth is to empower people, to help businesses create more jobs, and help New Yorkers compete for those jobs. We know that unnecessary regulation causes many new and growing businesses to die on the vine. And through initiatives like NYC Business Link, we're changing the way local government regulates and interacts with business owners. We know that high taxes can undermine growth. That's why we ended double taxation on many small businesses and made it cheaper for large companies based in the city to invest in infrastructure or add jobs. We know that having an educated workforce is the single biggest factor companies consider when moving to a new city. That's why we continue to find new ways to improve low-performing schools and have helped get hundreds more New Yorkers on a path to a GED. And fundamentally, the way we support job growth is the same way we support New Yorkers, by keeping the city strong and thriving. When we pass balanced budgets without raising taxes, when we keep police officers on the streets, when we keep firehouses open, and when we keep investing in our schools. That gives business owners confidence to invest in our city. Confidence that in 10 years, New York will still be a place where their employees will want to raise their families. But beyond removing obstacles, beyond creating that supportive environment, I believe there are concrete and immediate steps we can take to create jobs today and to strengthen our economy for years to come. We can tap into that very source of New York exceptionalism, the boundless creativity and the dogged persistence of the people of our city. So today, I want to discuss two things that make us exceptional right now: the emerging potential of the technology sector and the enduring promise of New York's middle class. How can we stay on track to becoming the technology capital of the world? And how do we protect middle-class jobs while helping more people access the middle class? One of the things that has always made New York exceptional is that we look to the future. As the world changes, we see opportunities. We grew from a center of shipping and commerce to an industrial superpower, to the financial capital of the world. And we did so on the strength of ideas. Today, many of the ideas that are changing the world are coming out of the tech sector. With these new ideas come new jobs, not just in research and programming, but in marketing, sales, or human resources. In the last decade, we've seen the tech sector explode here in New York City and across the country. Every city is trying to get in on the action. So how can we make sure those jobs come to New York City? We've already taken some key steps. The City Council, with the New York City Partnership, created NYC Tech Connect, helping more of our tech talent start new businesses. Mayor Bloomberg is working hard to bring a world-class applied sciences school to the 5 boroughs. We need to build on those efforts. We can start by making better use of the exceptional minds that already call New York home. Every day, researchers at our great colleges and universities are coming up with new ideas and new discoveries. Now look, these ideas could produce a paper or a dissertation. I don't mean to diss academia, but with a little help, they could create new companies and new jobs. So in the next year, we're going to start a business incubator at CUNY called the Center for Innovation. Once fully operational, The center will house up to 25 new companies, providing them with all the tools they need to expand and hire more New Yorkers. Sometimes emerging businesses also need a little help in attracting investors. This is especially true right now for the biotech industry. So we'll create a brand new tax credit for angel investors to encourage them to fund new biotech and med tech startups in New York City. This will build on the success of our existing biotech tax credit. In the last year, 28 companies have used it to develop new products and hire more people in the 5 boroughs. Another growing tech sector, digital media. It faces a different challenge. I recently visited a company called Huge, an internet marketing company located in Dumbo. In the last 5 years, they've gone from 30 employees to 300, making them the largest employer in all of Dumbo. Now they're looking to hire 50 more people. But shockingly, they can't find enough programmers to fill these jobs. They've had such a hard time recruiting qualified people that they had to start their own training school at a cost of nearly $500,000 a year. Now, when you have 9% unemployment and companies like Huge still have jobs they can't fill, something is seriously wrong. So working with Huge and other tech companies, we've come up with 2 creative solutions. First, we're going to partner with a grassroots organization called ABNY. It's not a bad thing. I thought that when I heard their name, the whole hack name. To operate, and ABNY is going to operate a tech job placement service and connect hundreds of New Yorkers with jobs in these growing companies. Second, we're going to help more folks qualify for these cutting-edge jobs. And in many cases, you don't even need a fancy degree in computer sciences to qualify for them. At our request, CUNY has agreed to work with leaders in the tech sector to develop certificate programs for in-demand programming languages. With just a few months of classes, you could be ready for a job, creating mobile apps or doing web design. A third challenge familiar in our city is finding the space for growth. When we talk about city planning, we usually picture developers and government officials putting together billion-dollar projects. But that can't be the only way we think about economic development. We need to find opportunities for smart development, development that doesn't take years or hundreds of millions of dollars. Our job is to see where industry is heading and help speed it along. The tech industries, like a lot of industries, thrive on connections to similar businesses. Take, for example, the proximity of Dumbo and the Brooklyn Navy Yard, 2 hubs of our growing tech sector. All you need to do is look at a map to realize the next logical place for these businesses is to head to downtown Brooklyn. It could be the 3rd point in a vibrant Brooklyn tech triangle. But there are obstacles. It's barely a mile away from Dumbo or the Navy Yard, but unless you have a car, there's no easy way to get from one place to the other. So we'll work with the MTA to find practical transportation solutions and connect all 3 points on this triangle to pave the way for new growth. Then we'll market downtown Brooklyn to tech startups and build a critical mass in that neighborhood. Now, it's not just about the tech sector. It's about seeing the potential in every neighborhood and finding smart ways to help new businesses grow. The second idea I want to talk about this morning is keeping this a middle-class city and helping even more New Yorkers reach the middle class. New York was built on generations of immigrants who spent their lives trying to make our city exceptional. They believed that by working hard, they could pull themselves and their families out of poverty and into the middle class. It was the most basic promise of our city and of our nation, that anyone could make a better life for their children. For many, that promise has been broken. That's what the protesters downtown are responding to. They fear the loss of that part of the American dream. Well, I'm here to tell you, we are not going to let that dream die, and we are not going to let the middle class disappear from our city. Diversity is what makes New York City exceptional. People of every race, religion, and income working together to help our city thrive. We will not become a city that only has room for the very rich and the very poor. Part of that solution is to look for opportunities where others have given up. For example, some people think that manufacturing is dead. Well, it is not. New York is still home to thousands of manufacturing firms, but instead of giant corporations, they're small specialty shops. If we want these businesses to grow, they need more places to sell their products, not just here in the 5 boroughs, but in cities all over the world. But when it comes to exports, New York lags way behind. We export just 7% of what we produce, compared to the national average of nearly 12%. Perhaps the biggest challenge is that business owners don't know where to begin in this area. If you're a furniture maker, you're busy making furniture. You don't have time to search for stores in Denver or Dubai, let alone figure out which ones might be interested in buying your furniture. Well, that's where we can come in. We're going to identify strategic trade partners for major New York City companies. We'll then work with manufacturers to help them target and penetrate markets with high demand for their goods. We'll also build on an idea that, quite frankly, we stole from a real New York manufacturer, Bob McClure of McClure Pickles, who I think is with us today. Bob is somewhere out in the audience. When Bob was making his deliveries every week, he kept seeing other small food manufacturers driving their products to the exact same stores. Bob asked, why are we all wasting time, energy, and money? And he started partnering with nearby business owners, delivering their products in his truck for a small fee. He says he hoped to one day turn it into a cooperative distribution model to strengthen his business and to help others do the same. You want to talk about New York exceptionalism? How about a small business owner on top of all of his other, responsibilities, because, making pickles ain't easy, let's be honest here. And on top of that, he comes up with an idea to make a whole business community stronger. We're going to follow his exceptional example and grow his idea to international proportions. We're going to coordinate New York City businesses that make similar products or serve similar markets. And we're going to help make it cheaper to send their products across the country and around the world. And it isn't just goods we should be looking to export. New York is more than anything a service-based economy, and we should be marketing our service sector around the world. For example, we're home to the top talent in green construction and design. More than 15,000 people who provide professional services for green development. As cities all over the world move toward more efficient growth, demand for these services continues to rise. Working with industry leaders like Blackstone, Verdant Power, and Wind Analytics, we're going to form strategic partnerships with cities that have high demand for green development right now. They'll be able to benefit from our experience, and we'll be able to connect New York City businesses with growing markets so they can create more jobs. It's all about seeing the potential in industries like manufacturing that frequently get ignored. In the same way, we need to look at people that often go unnoticed and help them do exceptional things. There are New Yorkers in every neighborhood working as low-wage freelancers, house painters, babysitters, maids. If you told them they could join forces to start their own small businesses, many of them might not believe you. But that's exactly what the people of Sunset Park have already done. Working with a local organization called the Center for Family Life, they've created 4 worker-owned businesses, providing jobs for nearly 100 people in home cleaning, daycare, catering, and elder care. Being part of a small business provides these workers with better pay, with benefits, with stable employment. Some have actually tripled their yearly income because of it. I'm proud to announce that we're going to expand this program and create 3 new worker-owned businesses every year. We'll provide hundreds of New Yorkers with better jobs, help them pull their families out of poverty, and get them on the path to their own American dream. We can also get more New Yorkers back to work by teaching them skills that are in high demand. For example, as our population ages, not me, of course, thank you, jobs for home care workers are growing quickly. These are good jobs that could start you on the path to a lifelong career in healthcare, and they don't require a college degree. But what they do require is between 40 and 75 hours of training for a certificate. And right now, we simply don't have enough instructors to meet that demand. So we're creating a new partnership with 1199 to expand capacity and get more people trained to do these important jobs. For every new instructor we bring on board, we can put an additional 200 New Yorkers to work every year in this growing field. In the coming months, we'll be taking steps to put all the proposals I've outlined into action. At the same time, we'll continue to explore big ideas with the potential to dramatically change job prospects for New Yorkers. For example, you may find it hard to believe, but many American companies are looking to move some of their outsourced jobs back onshore. Businesses have grown dissatisfied with the quality of offshore work, and costs have been rising in many other countries. I believe we can bring some of these back office jobs back to New York City, jobs like data analysts and systems managers. They require a specific type of training, which makes the size and quality of New York's workforce a major asset. We've already started talking to the CUNY School of Professional Studies. If you think we're obsessed with CUNY, quite frankly, we really are, because they're doing a terrific job, so let's give CUNY a round of applause. We've already started talking to the CUNY School of Professional Studies about creating targeted workforce development programs in these areas. If we can prove this model works, we can get more companies to bring these jobs back to the 5 boroughs. Because in the end, we're talking about strengthening our middle class, or growing our tech sector, or whatever our focus is. All these different ideas come back to one goal: creating good jobs that get people back to work. None of the ideas I've mentioned by themselves will end unemployment, but each one will end unemployment for one person or for 100 people. For those New Yorkers and their families, that job will make all the difference in the world. But we can't do it alone. We need all of you in this room, our city's civic and business leaders. ABNY was born in another defining moment for our city, at a time when New Yorkers felt the same lack of hope for the future as today's protesters in Zuccotti Park. In that moment, and at critical moments since, the members of ABNY came together to lead our city through the storm. Lou Rudin once saw an op-ed written by a woman who was leaving New York City for North Carolina. She blamed high crime and even higher prices. A few days later, the great Lou Rudin penned a response, asking her to come back to New York, to be part of the solution, not only to New York's problems, but to the problems of our nation. Lou recognized what not many people do. He realized the power to make New York better. He realized that it lies in the hands of each and every New Yorker. And like ripples in a pond, even the smallest actions have the power to spark great change. Today, you're a freelance worker barely squeaking by. Tomorrow, you could be a part owner in a thriving small business. And 10 years from now, you might be a leader in your community, guiding the next generation of great entrepreneurs. Today, we see empty offices in downtown Brooklyn. Tomorrow, they could be filled with our city's most creative talent. And 10 years from now, they might be home to the next Foursquare or Facebook and thousands of good jobs. It's going to take all of us working together, business, government, and ordinary people. But when we have the foresight to take action, when we have the courage to be exceptional, then we can and will rebuild our city's economy, one job, one idea, one New Yorker at a time. Thank you all for coming this morning.